Hey, what is up, everybody, and welcome to the Get Your Bell Rung Football Podcast. He is Kevin Reynolds. I am Bobby Wall, and we are here to talk all things football and hit you with some takes that might rattle you up a bit. On tonight's show, we got some ground to make up. We missed last week due to some time constraints and some issues, but it's all good. We are here. We'll talk about the divisional round that was, look into the championship weekend that is coming up on us, and also talk a little bit about this past season's top 12 fantasy quarterbacks. But first, Kevin Reynolds, how you doing, my friend?
Doing pretty well, buddy. Got me a beer. I'm a little upset with myself. I want to stop by Martin's today and get myself some ginger beer because I'm out. For those who don't know, Bobby's turned me on to these mules.
That's
Uh,
right, man.
and my favorite now is not the Moscow mule; it's the Kentucky mule. You turn me on to bourbon, lime juice, and ginger beer. I had to get all the quantities just right, and now that I have, it's become my favorite sipping drink. Although I tend to
You're
not
welcome.
sip them.
Good for you, buddy. Speaking of favorites, is Jason Kelsey the most liked player in the NFL?
It's pretty cool.
Dude, men like him, women like him. So he's obviously Eagles fans like him. The Chiefs fans can't get enough of him, obviously, because he's rooting for his brother. But I don't know if you saw the video before the game. He was tailgating with Bills fans in a parking lot.
Yeah, tailgating, then going out shirtless during the game, chugging a beer.
He's great,
And
man.
then of course when you look at him, you think he just looks like any given dad bod at the pool. Of course, you
Oh
don't
yeah,
realize that underneath that layer of fat is a man who is just ridiculously strong. But
and one of the most athletic centers of all
yeah,
time.
they on their I don't know, I think it was I don't know if it was this show or this week's show or last week's where they talk who would be better if they switched roles. If Jason became a tight end and Travis became a center. Jason says
I
it'd
don't,
definitely be him, that he'd be the better tight end and that Travis would get murdered as a center. That he
I think he's right.
Yeah, I think he's right too. I think he's right. The
That's
center is people don't realize it. They like when I was talking with Alexandria yesterday, my daughter, and she's like, "It doesn't seem very hard. All you gotta do is hike the ball." I'm like,
oh, dude.
baby, aside from quarterback, it's the toughest position on the field for offense, both from
Yeah.
a physical standpoint and a mental, emotional standpoint. It's
Well,
like,
and for defense too. That's the second
yeah,
hardest position, offense or defense.
yeah. So I tried to explain that to her, and she wasn't really buying it, but nonetheless.
It's all right. Oh man. So, all right. So I did a little
But
deep
hey,
dive.
yeah, I got a bone to pick with your missus.
Okay.
She jumped a gun today. Did you see her Facebook post?
I don't know.
I think it was the hormones just are rolling through her, and it was one of those touchy-feely posts about I hope he has internal happiness. It
Oh,
was it
Kelsey.
was
Yeah.
bizarre. Reggie, I love you, but it was really weird. But you jumped the gun on like the first or second sentence. He
Yeah.
hasn't officially retired. He just straight up came out last week and said, I've not retired. I was emotional at the end of the game. I ran my mouth a little bit. I don't know what I'm going to do. So for anybody out there, he's not officially retired.
Yeah. So my old lady, she loves Kelsey, obviously, and she made a post on Facebook about, you know, she hopes Jason Kelsey's like a poster child, I think, for like having underlying like depression issues. Like he seems great on the surface, and all these people love him, and this and that, and he's funny, and maybe there's something going on. And she was just like, I hope people are checking on him. Hope he's doing all right. He's retiring, and you're right. That's not official. He hadn't filed any paperwork yet. But did you see the response she got? Women were coming out of the
Oh
woodwork.
yes,
Oh, I was thinking the same thing. I was just wondering about
it was
this. It's okay.
it was bizarre at best. Ladies, we love you. Uh, I think Mr. Kelsey's probably all pretty good. He's had a great life most of his life, a great support structure with his
Yeah.
family, his current family. Things are going well. I imagine like any big time future Hall of Famer, when he does retire, I'm sure he'll have a few issues here and there on some days, especially like when when camp starts up, things like that, day
Mhm.
one of the season. But I think he's good. I'm not particularly concerned about his mental and emotional state.
I think it's nice people care. It must be nice to have so many strangers care about you.
I reckon.
Oh, did you see the interview they did with her dad?
I guess
Their
not.
their last name isn't Kelsey.
Well, what is it?
It's Kels. They didn't even know it. And their dad, he was like, "Well, why did you change the name?" And the dad was like, "I just got tired of correcting people."
Really?
So their name apparently is Kels. I just watched it
They
tonight.
found out this week.
And
Two
I don't
men in
know
their
when
mid
it was.
30s that their last name isn't what they thought it was their entire lives.
I don't know when it happened, but I just watched it an hour ago. And the
Because
dad's like, "Yeah, I just got tired of it."
you think somebody on his side of the family at some point in their lives may have mentioned, that's not how you say our name.
You would think.
I mean, it'd be like me finding out here now that our last name is actually Reynolds, not Reynolds. It's R-E-Y, Ray, Reynolds.
Did I?
Bobby Woff.
No, man. Yeah,
Bobby
I
Woff,
love it.
Esquire.
Who knows, man?
Oh, that's
All right.
odd. But yeah, he looked like he was having a good time. He seems like such an awesome dude to drink a beer with.
Oh, yeah. All right. I dipped in uh the quarterback waters here. I went back to 2020. So I looked at the top 12 quarterbacks, QB ones in fantasy from 2020 until now. I'm going to give you a little quiz here. Of those 12, from 2020 to 2021, how many repeated?
As number one,
No, just a QB one, like from 1 to 12.
I'm not sure what I'm not sure exactly what you're asking.
So there are normally 12 teams in a fantasy league.
Okay.
So in the top 12, we consider them QB ones. Like an
Okay, you're not talking about the overall QB one.
correct.
See, that's where we were having a disconnect there.
Gotcha. So how many do you think of those 12, how many repeated from 2020 to 2021?
You mean just those two seasons?
Correct. Just from 20 to 21.
I have no idea without looking at even the names.
Yeah, just a guess.
Four,
Eight.
eight.
Eight repeaters from 21 to
I
22.
only picked four because I thought you were trying to trick me here, so I thought I'd
Nope,
go
no
really
tricks.
low.
No tricks. From 21 to 22, we had seven repeaters. There we go. Now, we thought this year was pretty wild on quarterbacks. We were right. Only four. There's your original guess from last year, this year. Only four repeated. Then I looked a
Allen,
little farther. There's only two
Hurts,
guys that you
Dak.
could guess. Only two guys that were on this list all 4 years. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. That's easy. There are there were three total, Tom Brady being one of them, but two quarterbacks currently that still play that made three of those 4 years. I'll give you one, Justin Herbert. Who do you think the other one was?
Russ.
No.
I have no idea.
Uh, I lied. There's an extra one. Hurts was on that list as
Because it
well.
wasn't like L. Jacks, obviously, because he missed too damn
Dude,
many games.
our boy, Kirk Cousins.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, I didn't even think of him. So I'm looking at names here,
Yeah,
and since he's buried in this season, that it
yeah.
didn't even come to my mind.
So Jalen Hurts, Justin Herbert, all active QBs, and Tom Brady, who's not obviously, and Kirk Cousins made the list three times. And then so this year we had six. Gordon Love, Brock Purdy, Tua, Baker Mayfield, CJ Stroud, and my guy, Sam Howell, all were in the top 12, all first timers. Half of them. Was that wild or what?
How did Sam Howell get in? On my list, he's 15th.
12, according to Fantasy Pros.
No, I don't know what kind of system they're using because he's way back of 12 on here. He's 26 points behind Stroud.
We had what's
Nonetheless,
up?
he won't even be a starter next year, so he's not going to have to worry about his repeat.
That's true. We had 73 quarterbacks this year score at least one fantasy point. 73. We had 64 score more than 10.
Cleveland had five just on their own.
Dude,
So
that is wild. Absolutely wild. So before we move on, here's my question to you. What does that tell us about what did we learn going into this year about QBs?
Very volatile position, and they are the biggest wimps in football and miss a lot of games.
So do you think this is going to be a trend, or do you think this is a blip on the radar? Do you think next year we might have 7 of these guys repeat again?
Yeah, I would say that would be normal, barring injuries.
I don't- I agree, but Sam Howell, Baker Mayfield,
Oh, I could
I
see
don't know
Baker
if they're going to be
Mayfield
back.
making it again. They're going to make a real push to get him
I tell you what,
back.
is he the guy for Tampa? Is he
He
the new
should
guy?
be.
I
Played
agree,
great, dude.
especially to close out the year, man. I'm
Absolutely.
with you.
I mean, and the team seems to love the guy. They really
I'll tell you
rallied
what it
around.
tells me. You go in with Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts. If you're willing to make that second round pick on a quarterback, I'm not. If one of them comes to me in the third round, I think about it. But after that, I'm waiting. I'm waiting till the end because all of these guys here, of the QB ones from this season, Jordan Love, Brock Purdy, Jared Goff, Tua, even to a certain extent, Mayfield, Stroud, and Howe were all free. You got them all in the 12th, 13th round,
Yeah,
double digits.
absolutely.
Tua, depending on your draft,
There'll be
but still,
people who are going to be down on Kirk, down on Herbert. They're even going to slip farther than what they would have.
Trevor Lawrence, even
Oh,
he was
yeah.
a QB1 last year. He was like QB8 last year.
Boy, did he fall apart.
How about Justin Fields?
Oh, yeah. I
He's
like
not in the top 12.
I
Suffered
like
injuries, right? So it's next year's going to be wide open. The fantasy drafts are going to be crazy with quarterbacks next year.
But here's the thing: as soon as you and I start to think there's a trend of something, the NFL and fantasy gods immediately spite us and do the exact opposite of what you and I think is about to happen. So people get
Sometimes.
used to it. Bobby's saying it's not going to happen. So go draft Jordan Love with your first pick. Go get Brock Purdy in the second round because believe it, they're going to probably be top three.
Who knows, man? Who knows?
Am I
All right.
wrong though? The
Dude,
fantasy gods have spited us.
or we're a couple months from now, other folks like we're going to look on the news and I'm going to see something and have to take a screenshot and send it to you and be like, dude, we just talked about this a month ago. Because that
Perhaps
happens a
so.
lot as well.
Perhaps
All right,
so.
man, I don't want to bring this up,
The Eagles?
but well, obviously not. I never heard of them. I am getting closer and closer to believing that professional sporting games, they don't have a script. I get that. But man, watching some of these games play out with the calls that are made, especially in the last couple years, in crucial moments, man, it just really kind of sways me to think there's a certain outcome that the NFL wants. And boy, if they don't try to make sure that happens. And I hate to say it, and it took me a while to believe it because people have been talking about this forever. But boy, I'm really starting to get there.
So you're now officially labeled a conspiracy theorist. You're Mel Gibson now.
I'm getting there.
Okay, yeah. See, I
So
don't
let me
believe
give
that.
you
I
that,
don't
and that's
believe that at
great.
all. I do
Good.
believe the NFL has a vested interest in certain teams doing well. They do not really want a Jacksonville versus Seattle Super Bowl because nobody
Right.
cares about those teams.
Right.
I'm with you there. I don't. I think there's too many people involved for there to be a true conspiracy because
Hmm.
that many people can't keep a
That's
secret.
tough.
What's the old
Right.
pirate speak? Two people can keep a secret as long as one of
Well,
them's dead.
one of them's dead. Yeah. My dad loves that, man. My
Yeah,
dad
it's a
brings that up
classic piratism.
probably twice, right? Every other month, my dad will say that for some reason.
Yeah, so we're
Uh,
talking at minimum, you'd have a couple higher up execs. You'd have to have the whole referee crew in on it.
yeah.
And then
Or
up
maybe
to
just one.
possibly having whole teams in on it and whole this and that. I just can't buy it.
It's
I do think there is a vested interest. I don't think somebody's pulling strings. So if that was the case, it would be like New England versus the Dallas Cowboys in the Super Bowl every year because that's where the NFL would make the most money. Uh, do I think it's a fun thing to think about, especially when it's your own team getting a shitty call? Pardon my French. Um, all those type things. But I really don't think that there's some overarching evil thing that is pulling calling the shots during every football game.
let
Please
me
give
give
me
you
an
an
example of what made you really
yeah.
what
Yes.
took you over the edge.
Yeah. So, and I'm still teetering. I'm leaning though. And here's a story. We're jumping sports here. We're going to go to the NBA. I was listening to a podcast, and they were interviewing two former NBA players, one of them being Evan Turner. So they were talking to the other guy. I can't remember off the top of my head. And they're like, talking about game sevens. And he's like, why are they? And he's like, people ask me all the time, why are game seven so hard? Why are game seven so hard? And it's like, I want to tell them, but I know I can't. And Evan Turner looks at him and goes, I'll tell him. And the other player goes, all right, man, that's on you. Okay. And then Evan Turner explains it was 2012. He played for the Sixers. They were going up against the Celtics. The Miami Heat with LeBron James and Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, they had already won. So the winner of this series, the Celtics Sixers, was going to go play them. And Evan Turner goes up to Elton Brand, older player, been in the league for a while, and he says, Elton, man, game seven tonight. I'm so pumped, blah, blah, blah. And Elton's like, I get you, but we're going to have to win by 15 if we want to win by one. And Evan Turner's like, what do you mean? He goes, look, man, let's just call it like it is. I wouldn't pay to watch us play the Heat next round, and I'm on the team. The NBA wants nothing with us playing the Heat. They want the Celtics going up against the Heat. So if we want to win, we got to win by 15 to win by one, because the refs are going to make sure the Celtics win this series. And it's like two guys. The one guy didn't even want to bring it up, didn't want to talk about it, but the other guy knew what he was saying and shared that story. I just pushed me over a little bit, man. And I
Okay.
know it's basketball,
Yeah,
but
basketball is different, and
right,
way betting is, and so much fewer people, and the way referees can really swing a basketball game
sure. But
early or throughout.
we also know a penalty could be called on every
They
single
could,
play.
right? Yeah,
So
I don't know. I just can't.
interesting. Regardless, interesting story.
Yeah, it's fun to think about, and
Yeah.
I myself I love the memes. Like when you're playing a team and it's good, the other team's NF like their MVP and it's a referee in like red and black stripes or something like that. Okay,
Yeah.
but I still don't think there's this concerted effort to screw over one team or the other.
And
Mostly simply because there's no way that for the last 100 years that could have all been kept under wraps, except for a few conspiracy theorists.
when you
Somebody later in life would have come out and had this horrible feeling, wrote a book about it. Because I've not heard of Roger Goodell being like old Hillary and having people killed.
he's gonna
So
die. He'll die with his secrets. Goodell ain't telling nobody anything.
he's probably got a lot of them. That guy.
Yeah, I bet he
Yeah,
does.
but that's the thing with him, dude. People don't realize he's not this overarching evil character. He just does what the owners want, and the owners want money and
And
him to clean up their messes. That's all. That's his job is.
I think the problem is he's unapologetic in what he does, and he doesn't even try to explain it sometimes. And that's cool, man. Like
Because he
you do
doesn't have
you,
to,
you get
right?
it done. But it doesn't play out well with the crowd and the
But
masses.
doesn't it? Because they make more money every year. Viewership
Oh yeah.
continues to go up every year. So
Mhm.
when people say he's destroying the NFL and all these people, oh, I'm never watching another down. Like, what are you talking about? You're just pretending. Of course you are. I
Yeah,
just saw you got a new jersey. I just saw you went to the Buffalo game 3 weeks ago. What are you talking about?
right.
You're not going to do it. You're craziness. I
I'm
actually
with you.
thought the games this weekend were well officiated. I watched all four. I didn't see any. Yeah, okay. Of course, they missed a few calls or made a call that seemed bogus. I didn't see anything that was so out of the ordinary that I thought it was intentionally made to sway the outcome of the game.
I'll be honest, I was eyeing that Miko Hardman fumble that went into the end zone.
He
If
definitely
they
fumbled.
if right. And
That ball was out.
if they would have not overturned it, I was 100% off that cliff, man.
Yes, because then the Buffalo fans would have stormed Rockefeller Center or wherever it is. Because yeah, that would have been some BS because that ball clearly was coming loose before his
Clearly.
hip hit. I was thinking the same thing, like, oh wow, if they give them the ball on the half-yard line here, when it's clear he fumbled,
Mm,
heads are gonna roll. But crazy game. 5 lead changes, 51 points in 3 quarters, and then
yeah.
fourth quarter, not a point.
Well, should have been a couple. One more thing before we get to these games. A stat I forgot with those QBs. So Josh Allen was QB. He's been QB1 3 of the last 4 years.
Yeah.
He was QB1 this year over Hurts by 40 points.
Yeah.
Last year, Mahomes was number one over Allen by only by 16, 40 points.
Yeah,
Josh
he's a
Allen,
beast.
QB1.
He came alive.
That dude is a game changer.
It's a shame they can't win. And it's also a shame that it
Like,
always gets
man,
pinned on him.
I, I agree to all of it. All right. The first game, your Baltimore Ravens pounded the Houston Texans pretty good. Uh, I thought the game, I don't know, it felt closer than this for a while. The
It
Texans
was. It
were
was
hanging
10-10 at halftime.
right, and they were hanging out, and I'm sitting here, I'm thinking to myself, there's no way CJ Stroud pulls this out, and obviously he didn't, and wasn't going to. Baltimore's got the best defense in the league, number one scoring defense, but the number one takeaway I got from this game is that Lamar Jackson has got to be so irritating to defend against. And you cannot play man coverage against Baltimore. It seems to me in must win games, Lamar abandons the pass. He runs as soon as he can. And that kind of makes me wonder. Now, look, it's getting him wins. But it seems like if he sees an opportunity in the regular season, I feel like he's looking to throw first normally. But in the playoffs, man, it's like he sees an opening and he goes, which is fine. But you can't play man defense against
Nope.
Baltimore. Because as soon as that
As soon
ball
as he
is hiked
sees,
and he sees backs turn,
as
that's it.
soon as he sees everybody's names going, and you know it's going to be at least 8 yards.
Yeah, it's over, man. As soon as those backs turn, he is out of there. And then what?
Then you're in
I don't know.
trouble. It's a whole bunch of second and shorts, endless first downs. Then you expect that to happen. It doesn't happen. You let your guy take your eye off him for a second, and there's a 17-yard completion.
You going to have a spy on him? Because that's going to be tough, man. It's not like you don't have a Lamar Jackson athlete on the defense to
Exactly,
spy
that
him
can
with.
do it.
So
And
it's like a
I've
waste of
told
play.
people before, people don't realize how big he is. So, I've seen him from like me to about 15 feet away. He is not a small individual. If that dude's coming at me running 4-4, I don't really want to stand right in front of him.
He's 6'2", 215.
So I'm saying he's running back size. He's a big dude.
Yeah.
But that said, you
Um,
probably saw on Facebook, I felt the same way as you. I took a little heat from some of my Facebook buddies on there because I put on that I wanted Harbaugh fired at halftime. But it was, again, it was the same thing as 2019. They came out listless, a half
mhm.
step behind. Lamar was back to doing his 20-yard drops for a 5-yard gain. So he has to throw the ball 25 yards through the air for a 5-yard gain. Endless sacks. It just made no sense. And I'm like, really? It's 10-10.
Well, it
This
looked
makes no sense. And had he learned nothing, but apparently Lamar decided, you know what, our head coach sucks. I'm going to take over here at halftime. I'm going to give the fiery speech. And then they went out, changed the offense. Monken changed everything. I'm sure you've read all about it this week or since the game. And boom, it was lights out from there.
well, it looked like they anticipated walking in there and just smashing Houston without trying.
Same they
It
did
looked like
against Tennessee, but Derrick Henry had other
right,
thoughts.
right.
Well, speaking of
That's all I
Derrick
got for that.
Henry, I wanted to bring something up because you read some of these idiot experts on here about how he's lost a step, he's this and that crap. That long touchdown he had in Week 18, fifth fifth fastest ball carrier of the whole season on that play. So he can't have lost too much. And two of the other ones, or one of the other ones, Raheem Mostert, who's the same age, or maybe a year older.
And Derrick Henry's 235
Yeah,
pounds.
imagine that hitting you full steam.
No,
Woo.
no,
Yeah,
nope.
fifth fastest in the league. Raheem Mostert, I think that's the fourth. Two guys both in their 30s now. The other two, I think two of them were Tyreek and one was Achan, or maybe the other way around.
My back hurts enough without thinking about getting run over by Derrick Henry.
I saw read a thing yesterday about all this news coming out about him heading to Dallas.
Who? Henry?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, that would just be an absolute nightmare for me.
Your boys, it doesn't matter. My mom could be running for Dallas and she's going to run straight through that Philly defense.
Well, yeah, that's why I
So
don't
it
want it.
doesn't really hurt the Eagles. It hurts all the other teams.
Yeah, but I also don't want to see him in that star, man.
It might happen, buddy. I think
To be honest,
Tennessee's going to be in full rebuild mode here.
you guys should sign him. If you can't beat him, let him join you.
I don't want him coming to the Rams. That means he's going to get hurt in week 1 of the preseason.
Well, you got something. You got a point there. All right, I'm gonna move on to the Saturday night game. Was Green Bay at San Francisco, and what a game this was.
Sure was.
It Yeah, man, it ended 24-21, Niners won, but Green Bay had the ball with what was it, 2 minutes to go, minute
Just
45,
under
something like
2 minutes. Yeah.
yeah. Now they had the field to go. Jordan Love can play football, man. He looked good last week in their win against Dallas. There were times he's throwing off his back foot. He's accurately. He's doing the 3/4 arm angle, the Aaron Rodgers deal.
We can just
He
end
looked,
this once and for all. We were wrong.
yeah, oh yeah,
Pretty much everybody was wrong.
yep,
The dude can play. Let's move on.
can. And Aaron Jones can too. I mean, you
Oh
talk
yeah,
about
he looked
Derrick
great.
Henry, people thinking past his prime. Aaron
Finally
Jones is
healthy.
30-ish,
He wasn't healthy all year. He's finally healthy and put up good numbers.
100 over 100 yards rushing. I mean, he can catch the ball out of the backfield. The thing is, and here goes the script that they're writing in the NFL. The worst play Jordan Love has made all season happened on that interception. He hasn't thrown across his body, running the wrong way all season, and he did it on that last play. San Francisco picks it off. Game over.
So you feel the players themselves
No,
are complicit in your theory?
no, I'm just messing around with that.
Okay.
But I will say San Francisco did not look great.
They didn't look unbeatable. They looked the same, a little listless. For some
Yep.
reason, when Debo goes out, everybody seems to just everybody drops at 10%. Their level of
Correct me
play.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but San Francisco went 0-3 when Debo was out in the middle of
That
the
they
year.
did. 17
That's
points a game.
and it just hit. And I watched the hit. It didn't look bad. You can't ever really tell. You can't tell. But he came out of halftime with no pads on.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a 0% chance he was coming back in, and I don't know. That kind of
That,
caught me off guard.
it's sad to me because you and I have, at least going into this year, the two people in the league that I hate to see with the ball are Debo and Austin Eckler because I expect them to score on every play. Eckler,
Yeah.
huge regression this year. But I'm starting to get concerned that Debo is, I'm not going to call him soft like he's a wimp, but he certainly seems to get hurt an awful lot. He misses whole games. He misses large portions of other games.
Mm.
Uh, I don't know. Is he just injury prone or does he just have a low pain threshold? I don't know, but he seems to miss an awful lot of time. It's definitely become a trend.
Well, he did not have a fracture, so
Right.
that's good. But he said he's in a lot of pain. And who knows if he plays this week? And if he doesn't, uh,
Detroit, baby.
it's tough for me to pick Detroit, but Debo doesn't play. I mean, history tells you that doesn't pan out well for the 49ers.
No, and Jared Goff played them enough times in his career. He's played there. He has been in a Super Bowl. He is not going to melt under this whole situation. Um, I'm excited.
Speaking of Jared Goff, he led his Lions to a 31-23 win against Tampa. I will say in the beginning of this game, he looked a little nervous. I know there was a pass in the end zone that he had that he severely underthrew his receiver who was open. Could have been a touchdown, end up in a field goal. But it was one of those throws where it's like, I mean, if you're clicking, that's an easy touchdown pass. And when you underthrow, it's like leaving an eagle putt short. You're so nervous. You got that eagle putt. Never leave it short. And he really had a bad throw on that. But obviously he overcame that if jitters was the problem, if they were. And this Lions team, man, everyone is rooting for them. And gosh, I hope they can pull it off. During the game, Jameer Gibbs is a man. Is he going to be? He's a second round pick next year for fantasy, right?
Maybe first.
Amon Ra's a
I could
first
see.
round
I
pick,
could. Oh,
high
I thought
second.
you said Gibbs.
Both. I'm talking about both because they're going to be together. They're
They're
going to be
definitely
within
both
five
going to be
picks of
going
each
by the
other.
end of the second round. Yeah, but
Oh yeah,
I could see leagues where they're both going at the end of the first round.
yeah. Okay, me too. I mean, as it stands now, obviously there's a lot that happened in the offseason. But boy, has Jameer Gibbs just gotten better and better.
He's a
Uh,
beast. We look like idiots because when we were watching that draft, we're like, what on earth are the Lions doing here? But we're the
but
fools.
we did say
They're the geniuses.
we did say all of their picks were fine. They just made them in the wrong order.
Yes, we felt that they could have
You know
got
what
other
I mean?
picks and got those players later. Right. You're right. We
Yeah.
have actually the draft, we both gave them like an A plus, something like
Yeah.
that. We just
Great
felt
picks.
that where
Wrong
the
order.
players they were getting all these players 10 to 12 spots too early. But boy,
Look, Jack Campbell didn't have the year that I think they wanted from him. I mean, he's still,
it was all right
rookie
year.
quarterback.
Yeah, he
Right.
wasn't lights out.
But Gibbs, Laporta, and Brian Branch, man, they are all three making
Yeah. And
plays
how they even
all over
still
the
to this
field.
day, how they got Branch where they did just makes no sense.
Dude, Branch had 8 tackles. He led the team. He had 2 tackles for loss, and he had a sack.
You could have made the case of those four guys that he would have been the first one taken, but he was the
Right.
fourth.
It should have been him and then Gibbs and then Campbell and then Laporta.
Yeah.
It was all screwed up. But that being said, we talked about Baker Mayfield. The dude went 26 for 41 for 350 yards and 3 touchdowns. He threw 2 picks. One of them ended the game.
Yeah.
That's upsetting. Mike Evans, man, 8 for 147 and a score.
Of course, he could
Is
catch
he
this week.
is he is he ever he's gonna fall off sometime. But when?
I don't know. It hasn't happened yet. There hasn't even been like an inkling of it happening.
I
So
know.
if I'm the Bucs, I talk Mayfield, get him and Evans both down. They both apparently want to come back and want to see the other come back. Sit down with them both and say, look, we know you both want a lot of money. If you want this to happen, we
Yep.
got it. We got to have some sort of concession here. If you both want to be here, figure it out amongst yourselves. Come back to us with a number, and we'll go from
Yeah,
there. I think it's the only
absolutely.
way they're both coming back.
Yeah. Here's another question. As far as fantasy drafts go. Sam Laporta, how high does he go?
I think Kelsey will still go one in a lot of leagues simply because of name recognition, not because
Yeah.
he's going to outscore him, and Laporte will be number two.
Because Laporta was tight end one this year by 23
Yep.
points in half PPR
Yeah, and there's no
over
reason to
over
think
Evan
that it
Ingram.
would
It
change.
wasn't even Kelsey, wasn't even two.
Yeah, there's no reason to think it's going to change. So, but people still draft Kelsey. It's name recognition, simple,
He's
simple
not
as
going in the
that.
first round again like he did this year.
Shouldn't, but he will. There will
There's
be some people that will. Uh, How many leagues have we been in our lives? There's idiots in every league. All they do is look at a sheet, they see a name they recognize. Their wife says, "Oh, he's blah blah blah," and then they draft him number 8.
Two big negatives for Detroit. Their pass defense, not great.
Not yet,
Um,
no.
Baker was ripping them apart. But also their offensive play calling was very suspect, especially in the red zone. If you think back to that several times, but that one drive that ended in a touchdown with Craig Reynolds of all people, 4th and 1,
Was
they went
awesome.
for it. 4th and goal from the 1 yard line, they went for it.
Yep,
But do you know what they did the 2 plays before that?
I
They
do. I
threw
watched.
the ball.
They sure did.
What are they doing? You
You've
have
got
David
you've
Montgomery.
got the arguably best goal line back in the freaking league in Montgomery.
You run the football 3 plays in a row and you're going to score. You
Yep,
can tell the defense and run the exact same play 3 times in a row
I
and you're going
agree.
to get it.
Montgomery, they did all year with Montgomery. Montgomery's
I
in
don't know.
inside the 3 or 4. He gets the ball, he scores. They were out overthinking.
Yes, the coaches at times are trying to lose these games. Like they're going out of their way to make Detroit do their like what the
Yeah.
Lions have always done.
Yeah,
Find a way to lose.
I don't know if it was if somebody during the game. I don't think it was Kamler or somebody, and they actually mentioned it during that little run of plays there that looked like the Eagles. Except the Eagles do that everywhere on the field except for the 2 yard line. There they do the tush push. But
Yeah.
it's just like you have this team that you know can run. You know they'll score if they do. But let's pass to make this as difficult and complicated as possible.
I saw a stat where they were talking about DeAndre Swift averaged almost 7 yards a carry on outside runs this year.
Yeah. All
We only had
13,
like
all
we only
13
had
of them.
like I was going to say you only had like 20 of them. Like, what are we doing? Oh, so silly.
Makes
All right.
I think they were like second in the league in behind, I think, the Ravens in yards per carry. Yet
Silly was
let's just pass 52 times a game.
silly. All right. The Buffalo Bills
No.
playing at home come up short yet and against the Chiefs. Come on, Buffalo. Man, I do not want to see the Ravens or the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I wanted to see the Bills,
Dude,
man.
that's just wrong. I don't know why you got to be like that.
Well, I don't know. It's just who I am, Kevin.
Yeah,
It's who I am.
yeah.
Kansas City, I didn't think their offense looked overly great outside of Isaiah Pacheco. Um, Travis Kelsey showed up again, but I don't know. Rasheed Rice didn't even look real great. He made a couple big catches and first downs when they needed it. But Pacheco is a maniac. I don't know that I'd want to tackle him either, to be honest with you. I know he's only, I mean, he's 5'10, 215, but
But that said, the Chiefs scored on 5 of the first 6 possessions, and the sixth one was the kneel down at halftime. So
yeah.
I think they definitely figured some things out on offense. The big thing is they ended up like third to last in the league in red zone efficiency. They
hmm
just couldn't score. They get the ball down and they couldn't ever score. But they sure as heck did it yesterday.
They feel like they moved the ball. It didn't look great, but it was very timely. The plays that
Yeah,
they
it didn't
made
look
were
like
very
Tyreek Hill
timely.
days where it's just chunk here,
Right.
chunk
Yep.
here, score in 35 seconds. I
Yep.
agree. But it looked pretty efficient. It's the best they've looked in since midseason.
I agree. There was a moment in the game where Kansas City had 30 plays and 15 first downs.
That's impressive.
That's yeah, it is.
That's
Uh,
chunks.
I'll tell you what though, man, Josh Allen is
He's
first off,
creamy.
he is way faster just from a pure speed standpoint than anyone realizes. When he decides to take off, he's shot out of a cannon and he is a monster.
Yeah,
I'm gonna look at I bet he's 250 pounds, I bet.
at least.
Um, Tough to get down. And I thought I thought he made pretty good decisions. For me, I thought their offensive play calling was also a little suspect. If you think about that last drive, there were two third down and I'm sorry, second and third down. They chucked the ball deep down the field. Maybe it was on first down too. They didn't have to do that, especially with the
So since
conditions weren't
nobody can
great.
catch, including
Right.
Stephon Diggs now,
Yeah.
apparently,
Yeah.
maybe there's more
Beautiful
to
throw.
this than we thought. There maybe he's not getting the ball so much because he's just not playing very
Uh,
well, to be honest.
yeah, correct. But it was what it ended up being a 40. What was it? How long was a field goal there at the end that they tried to miss?
47.
47. Right. Let's say instead of chucking the ball 17, 23 yards down the field, you make a 7 yard completion. Now we're talking about a 40 yarder, especially in those conditions. I just didn't understand. You only needed a field goal, and I feel like they were really going for the win when they didn't have to.
No, and there was enough time left that they could have continued just getting chunks down the field anyway. There was a minute and a half left.
Right.
It wasn't
Yes.
like they were, you know, down to 15 seconds and, let's just chuck it down there one time, see what happens. You had plenty of time to just get a first down or at least get closer. That's my
Uh,
only thought is they thought there's after last year, 2 years ago, that debacle of, 58 points in the last 13 seconds of the game, that they thought, just getting a field goal here, giving the Chiefs back the ball with a minute and a half left, we might still be in trouble. But it's
Maybe.
still better than just letting them kneel.
Yeah. Right. All right. Ready to move on, look ahead to these championship games coming up.
Your buddy.
All right, let's go Detroit at San Francisco. We got Detroit's offense was fifth in points, second in passing yards, and fifth in rushing yards. What an offense for the
Yeah.
Detroit Lions this year. 23rd, their defense was overall, 27th in the pass, second against the rush, though. So Christian McCaffrey, it might be a little tough sledding for him, although
I don't know if there's
he
such a thing.
had he had I think he only had 2 games all year with under 90 total scrimmage yards.
Yeah.
It's
He's
that
matchup
guy
proof. It's just a fact.
insane. San Francisco, listen to as a team. They were third in points, third in scoring offensively, and third in scoring defensively. Fourth in passing, third in rushing offensively, and then they had the 14th pass defense, but the third best rush defense. They're bringing it on both sides of the ball. So we got some strength against strength here. Um, the biggest issue I think for Detroit is going to be that defensive backfield limiting the damage that San Francisco's pass game does. Now, if Debo doesn't play, obviously that's a huge help. but that's still going to be tough, man. Sanford, Purdy, and Kittle, and Ayuk, and McCaffrey out of the backfield. That's going to be tough to stop.
My thought on that game is all going to come down to how many pressures Hutchinson can get.
Dude, I'm interesting you say that because absolutely they're going to have to pressure Purdy.
That's it.
Uh, and I said Detroit's going to need to create at least 2 turnovers and not have any. If they can, well, or let's just say they need to win by 2 in the turnover battle
Right.
to
I
have a
think
shot. I
the
think.
spread's what, 6.5?
You know what? I didn't even look.
I think theirs is 6.5, and the Ravens is they're favored by 3. I really think that's it. If Hutchinson, who I can't remember all the numbers today, but boy, if you look at his stats from this year of his it's about his run stops and run stuffing and pressures and his pressures per game, they're all off the charts. Um, if he can get a lot of pressure on Purdy, that'll make everything else so much easier. But will that happen? I really think that's the key to them having a chance. But obviously, the turnovers are huge. If it's +2 for the Niners, Detroit doesn't have a chance. If it's +2 for the Lions, we might have a game that comes down to the end.
Yeah, I agree. And our guy, Aiden Hutchinson, to add on to what you said, number one in QB pressures this year.
Huh?
Numero uno. Nobody pressured the quarterback more than him. Now he was 10th in sacks. So I think we talked about it on the show. I think I brought it up where he was getting there, just not being able to finish the play.
Right.
But I did see he's the first player in NFL history, or the only player in NFL history to have something like over 20 sacks and 4 interceptions in his first 2
Yeah.
seasons. 4 interceptions.
Yeah. Hello, Jacksonville.
Gosh, we tried to tell him, didn't we,
We
Kevin?
did.
Try to tell him.
100%.
And also one last thing about this game: San Francisco has 3 losses at home this year. Detroit has 3 losses on the road this year. So this is going to be. I think it's even more evenly matched than we think. We have this vision, and I look, I'm falling prey to it as well. But this vision of who San Francisco could be, I'm not sure that's who they are anymore. Like when they were rolling people, and we
Yeah.
absolutely no doubt about it, they're the best team in the NFL. I'm not sure that's who they are right now.
They just once in a while go out and just sort of throw out a stinker. Thing is even when they do, they usually win anyway, but sometimes
Right?
they don't. I'm taking Detroit because I want
Are
to.
you? Oh, well, dude, my heart and
That's it. So
every
I'm taking them right
everything,
here, right now. Detroit.
every I love it. Everything except my brain is telling me Detroit.
No, I agree with what you just said. These two teams are so much closer than anybody wants to give it credit for. It's just NFL bias. You got the Niners, one of the storied franchises of the league. You've got Detroit, who's on the 100% other end of the spectrum with the Browns. And it's hard to really wrap your head around the fact these teams are really closely skilled overall. The big thing is that it's in San Fran. That's
And
obviously
the
an advantage.
and the coaching with Detroit, man. They play with fire all the time when they don't need to.
I love Detroit. Oh God, this would be
I
so
do
great.
too, man. I do too.
And this is one of those things too. I know the NFL loves their precious Niners, but I would bet Goodell would be perfectly happy if Detroit made the Super Bowl because it's such a huge thing. Like you said, people everywhere are rooting for them. It's not just
Well,
Detroit people; everybody's rooting for them.
I saw something that said that this divisional round, the Lions, the tickets for that game were the most expensive tickets in divisional round
Oh
history.
yeah, that's right. I saw that.
Like $600 a ticket.
Yeah,
And good for these Lions fans, man. Get your ticket and don't sell it unless someone's going to give you, they have to give you their rent payment for the
those were
month.
going for more like the Ravens tickets, and we were talking about the severe nosebleeders here. Even they right now are going for about 490 to 520, and
Oh
that's
yeah,
the championship game.
right,
Detroit's are going for 600 just for the divisional game
yeah,
because they're
love
never
it,
there. People wanted to go.
right?
People
Oh,
had waited their whole lives and never seen it once.
right. No kidding.
Yeah,
I
people
know
that have
it's
had
crazy.
season tickets for 50 years and they've never once.
67,
They
67 years he had season
yeah,
tickets.
and
The
they've
guy.
never got to see this. So it's a big deal.
Uh, okay. The greatest thing to ever happen to me is my son being born almost 6 years ago. The second greatest thing is going to be when my next son is born, which could be any day now. My little man, little Reddick, he's going to make his introduction to the world at any time. Maybe before this show ends. I mean, we're close. That being said, if it weren't for him, I would be in Detroit or somewhere for this Super Bowl if the Lions were to make it. Obviously, I can't do it.
No,
I'm only slightly upset. But my gosh, would it be fun to be in Detroit if they're I know it'd be freezing cold and whatever, but gosh, the energy of that city would be unreal.
I wonder if they'll do one of those type things like open up the stadium for the big
Oh,
screen.
they should, man. They
Yeah, that'd be
should.
pretty neat.
Especially since it's a dome. Oh my gosh, they would sell out.
It would sell out. There's no doubt, 100%, because
Oh,
everybody want to be there with their fellow Lions fans just to experience it together.
oh my gosh, I would love to go.
Next thing you know, you have a fumble six, and the whole place is completely quiet.
I hope something terrible happens to your Ravens. I will never let you forget
Just
it.
rude. It's just rude.
Speaking of your Ravens, they're going up against the Kansas City Chiefs. Baltimore's fourth in points offensively, 21st in pass yards, first in rushing yards, the best rushing team in football. Defense, number one scoring defense in the league, sixth in pass, 14th in rush, but they were also first in turnovers. And here's going to be a fun little thing. They were tied for the most takeaways in the league with what team?
Kansas City?
The New York Giants.
Really?
Yes, they both had 18 turnovers.
Wow. That's
Right?
bizarre. There's a
That
there's an
is
outlier stat.
right. I know. I haven't heard a single human being bring that up. And it's
I
like the
You could have gave me
oddest
20
stat.
guesses and I wouldn't have ever said the Giants.
I could have probably given you 30 guesses and you might not have guessed the Giants.
Wow.
Right?
Interesting.
Gosh, well, I know. What else we got here? All right. So Kansas City, 15th best offense, but they've been sputtering later in the season. Sixth in pass, 19th in rush, but that Isaiah Pacheco, man, he can really move the ball. Their defense, though, second best defense. So we got the best defense against the second best defense. They were fourth in the pass and 18th in the rush. So we're talking as far as the defensive go. First in points, second in points. Sixth in pass, fourth in pass. 14th in rush, 18th in rush. I mean, these teams are about as matched up as you're going to get. So this should be. If you told me this game was going to end up 12-9, I'd believe you. But if you also told me it was going to be a 35-33 game, I believe that as well.
Yeah, I think the big kicker in the Ravens' favor is health. They've got really nobody that's really going down recently. If anything, they're going to have a couple guys. Andrews might even be back for this game.
What about Marlon Humphrey? He was out this past week.
Yeah,
He's your
we'll
number
see.
one.
'Cause he was going to be iffy for last week, so we'll see for this week. But I'm just saying, nobody got hurt this week. That's such a huge contributor that it's going to be a huge adjustment. Everybody got out of that game pretty unscathed. I know Kansas City, they lost a couple. I don't know. I think the Ravens are going to win. I'll be honest with you. I think they're going to do pressure wise what the Bucs did to Mahomes in the Super Bowl. I think Mahomes is not going to have a lot of time to throw. We're going to get a pick or two, and hopefully good things happen. Though that said, I could also see the Ravens losing because it's Pat Mahomes and he's hard to go against in the playoffs.
Well, here's what's weird. Baltimore only lost 4 games all year, but 3 of them were at home.
And all three of them, they had a double-digit lead in the fourth quarter.
Right. Kansas City only had 2 losses on the road. So I'm telling you, these teams, this is going to be a good, like, strength against strength. I
Well,
don't
it
want to say
should be.
weakness. There's
When
not a
you
whole
get
lot of
down to the
weakness here,
Final
but
Four, they should be good games. You don't
could
get
be.
here on accident.
Yeah, but that Detroit pass defense is the outlier there because that is not good.
Yeah,
Um, but look, Kansas City is the defenses are great. I would believe you if you told me it was going to be a 9-6 game, but I'm leaning more
I don't think
towards
it'll be. I think there's going to be
uh,
scores.
right.
Both teams in the
So,
20s, like 28-24 type game.
or if that's the case, though, it's going to be harder for Kansas City. Kansas City only scored 30 or more points 3 times all season. Baltimore's done it 9 times.
Yeah.
So if Baltimore goes out and starts, scoring at will, like they've done so many times this season, Kansas City might struggle to keep up.
Dude, look what they did to your boy, Stroud. Stroud
Yeah.
Stroud beat up Cleveland for what, 5 touchdowns, 4 on the
He
ground, one on the
CJ
for
Stroud
touchdown.
as a rookie led the NFL in passing yards per game.
There you go. But I'm just saying in general against Cleveland, who a lot of people going into the playoffs said that's the most dangerous defense in this, not Baltimore, not KC, it's Cleveland. He ate them alive. What did he do against the Ravens? Nothing. Zero. He let them do a field goal because the
0
touchdown
touchdown
was a punt
passes.
return.
Right.
The Ravens
Yep.
just shut them down. It was a little bit of bend here, a little bit of bend there, no break, and just didn't gave up 3 points the whole game.
It's interesting because their defense is so good. It's not what was it, the 2000 Ravens, right?
Yes.
Ray Lewis and Ed Reed. But there were some big names on that defense. I'm not sure. Like, those are like Ed Reed, Ray Lewis. We're talking some of the greatest of all time.
Yes.
You don't have that on this defense right here. They're just playing great as a unit. But don't get me wrong.
You got
Roquan Smith
Roshan Johnson, you got
is
Pat Quinn.
Roshan Johnson.
Oh, sorry. My bad.
Roquan Smith.
Roquan Smith, Roshan.
Somehow
I
you
don't know
signed
why
a
that
running
came.
back,
I
a
guess I
rookie running back from the Bears
I
to
guess
play
I had
defense.
one too many beers. Woo! So you have them both all pro defensive players, first team, second team this year. Right. There's nobody on there that anyone is saying is a surefire Hall of Famer someday.
Right, right.
Did you see the
So,
stat today that they're only the fourth team in NFL history to have the first team all pro quarterback and the number one defense?
hmm,
Uh,
I
yeah,
don't think I did see
of
that.
all time. Yeah. The other three all won the Super Bowl. It's like the 72 Dolphins, 78 Steelers. Who in the hell was the other one?
Bradshaw was never good.
I didn't say
Look
he
at his
was. That doesn't mean
stats.
he wasn't first team all pro. I forget what the third team was, but all three
Ridiculous.
of them, all three of the other teams all won the Super Bowl.
Unbelievable. You know Terry Bradshaw, he threw more touchdowns than he did interceptions by 2 in his career.
You know, the NFL
It
was different then. But
212
yes,
touchdown passes,
I
210 picks in his career.
I never thought he was the greatest thing since sliced bread. But quarterback gets a lot of credit. When teams win, they get a lot of blame when they lose. That's just the way the NFL is.
When Terry Bradshaw, he was an all-pro once, Pro Bowl 3 times, all-pro once. 28 touchdown passes, 20 interceptions.
But that was the NFL then. It was different. We
It's
can't
irritating.
compare errors when we were talking about over 40 years ago.
Not good.
Nonetheless, it's a heartening stat. Hopefully, the fourth time continues.
Uh, Go NFC. I don't care who it is. Niners, Lions, go NFC.
What if it was the Cowboys?
Go AFC.
Oh, wow.
Not the Cowboys are my least favorite team. Ravens are number 2.
That's stupid.
Well, I don't know what to tell you, man. I've been to Ravens games as a neutral fan, and their fans are so nasty.
Amazing.
And there's it's been I have not enjoyed being in a Ravens stadium, and I've gone to, I don't know, half a dozen games maybe.
Maybe you should try to wear some purple and black next time. You'd probably be more enjoyable.
I just dress neutral. I don't
I'd
dress
like
in
to see
anything.
you go to a game sometime wear black and yellow. That way you don't make it out.
Well, I'm gonna go with you. Hold your hand.
It's fine with me. I'll be wearing purple. I'll be the guy kicking you in the ribs because somebody already knocked you down.
Oh, look at this guy. Get him,
Who the
get him.
hell's this son of a bitch? I don't know this guy.
Oh, good times, Kevin. Good times. You got anything else, my man?
I don't really. We'll have to start talking about coaching carousel. We're excited that Mr. Antonio Pierce got hired. That
Yes.
was
Congrats, Raider Nation. That's a good one.
brilliant. So hopefully that works out for them. Other than that, yeah, we can get in that here soon because we'll have 2 weeks after these games coming up to talk about all the craziness going on in the league behind the scenes right now.
Yeah, man. Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for listening
Oh,
to
wait, now,
us.
so who's your picks? Who do you think is going to win? Not who you're
Um,
rooting for. Who do you think will win?
I think it's going to be San Francisco, who we might pick to win against the Lions, simply because the Lions coaches are going to screw up something. They're going to call a stupid play, and it'll be a turnover or something. And Baltimore, I think Baltimore's a better team.
Okay. I'm going Lions in Baltimore.
Okay.
I have to pick one
All right.
upset. I'm not going against the Ravens.
Well, obviously not. All right, folks. Thank you all for listening. Be sure to check us out Spotify, YouTube, and Facebook. Get Your Bell Rung Football Podcast. Kevin, folks, we'll see you in a week.
See ya.